Why are you doing this? My voice was barely a whisper, choked with pain. I tried to lift my head, but the world spun, crimson blotting out everything. You should have known better than to trust me. Their words cut sharper than the knife I felt buried in my side. I blinked against the darkness, trying to make sense of their face, the one I had loved, the one I had trusted. I thought, we were, together. My voice cracked, disbelief mingling with blood. Together? They laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You were just a pawn, always too soft to see the truth. A wave of nausea hit me. I coughed, tasted iron. Memories slammed into me, our late-night talks, the secrets I shared, the dreams we built. All of it was a lie. I gasped. Not a lie, they said. Just reality. You didn't survive, not really. And now, neither will you. I clenched my fists against the ground, trying to crawl, trying to fight, but my body refused. Why? I gave you everything. Everything isn't enough when you're weak, they said. Their smile mocked me. Goodbye. The world tilted. I remembered their betrayal in flashes, the laughter that hid deceit, the warmth that masked poison. I should have seen it coming, I told myself, but denial had made me blind. I trusted you, I whispered. Pain burned my chest with every word. The sky, or was it the ceiling, swirled above me. My mind screamed, but my body betrayed me. Someone, anyone, my voice fell into silence. A faint sound, footsteps. Or was it my imagination? I can't die like this, the thought was desperate, raw, trembling. You're pathetic, they sneered. And now, you'll pay. My vision blurred. The betrayal, the blood, the searing realization of how alone I was, it all collided inside me. I gave you trust, love, I coughed again. You destroyed me. Then a sharp pull of dizziness. I fell backward, everything going black. I felt the cold seep into my bones. I'm not ready to end, my hand reached for nothing. And then, something impossible. A light, faint, distant, calling. I blinked against it, not believing, not understanding. What is this? A voice, mine, yet not entirely mine, echoed in my head. Wake, again. The world tilted, stretched, and twisted. I felt myself falling, not into darkness, but into a strange warmth, a strange peace. Is this a dream? I whispered to the emptiness. I tried to remember my life, the pain, the betrayal. Faces blurred in my mind, the one who had abandoned me, the people I had loved and lost. I don't want to die, I said aloud, a trembling conviction forming. Something surged inside me, a pull stronger than despair. I felt myself, moving backward, time folding like paper. 10 years, earlier. I gasped. The world around me shifted, colors brightening, sounds becoming sharper. I opened my eyes fully, gasping for air as if waking from a nightmare. My body felt younger, lighter, but my heart still carried the scar. I have a chance. I whispered to the empty room. Silence. Then the echo of my own voice, this time I won't fail. And for the first time, amidst fear, pain, and disbelief, a spark of determination flickered. I had been betrayed, left for dead, but now, 10 years earlier, I had a choice. I had control. And I wouldn't let anyone take it from me again. I opened my eyes, and the world felt different. Lighter, sharper, yet hauntingly familiar. My room, my old room, looked smaller, younger, like I had stepped back into a photograph. This can't be real, I whispered to myself, voice trembling. Who's there? A voice from the hallway startled me. I froze. Mom. I called out, my voice higher, 10 years younger. She peeked in, smiling, holding a tray. "Breakfast, sweetie. You look pale. Everything okay?" "I'm fine," I managed, forcing a smile. My mind raced. I touched my arms, my face, the hair. Yes, I was younger. 10 years younger. 10 years. My chest tightened, memories of betrayal, blood, pain, all flashing. I swallowed hard. "I have to be careful," I muttered. "Careful about what?" Mom asked, frowning. I shook my head. "Nothing. Just dreams. Dreams. That's what I'd call it for now. A dream, a chance, a warning." I sat on the edge of my bed, fingers clenching the sheet. I remembered everything, the betrayals, the lies, the exact moment I was left for dead. I had knowledge now, knowledge no one else had. And power, if I played it right. I tested it immediately. Walking through the familiar streets, I observed everyone, neighbors, classmates, the faces I'd known so well. They were predictable, almost painfully so. "Just like I remembered," I muttered. I spotted him, my betrayer, younger, innocent-looking, unaware of the chaos he would cause. I felt a twinge of fury, quickly covered by calm. "Patience," I whispered. "Timing is everything." At school, I overheard familiar chatter. "Did you hear about the science fair?" one classmate said. "Who do you think will win this year?" I smiled faintly. "Probably not who they think," I murmured, scanning the crowd. Every conversation, every choice, every path, I knew them all. But I also knew the risk of interference. One wrong move, and I could unravel everything. Lunchtime, I sat at my usual table, listening. "Did you finish the project?" a friend asked the boy beside me. "Yes," he replied, eyes bright. "Finally. I hope it's enough." I leaned in slightly, dropping a subtle comment. "If you just adjust the experiment this way, you'll have an edge." The boy blinked. "Really? How did you know?" I shrugged, playing it casual. "Just thought I'd try." Inside, I grinned. Small victories. Subtle influence. Nothing drastic, yet. Walking home, I passed the park where I used to meet him, the betrayer. I noticed the way he laughed, the way others followed his lead. It was all predictable. I whispered under my breath, 10 years younger, but now, everything can be mine to shape. Back in my room, I drafted mental lists. Friends to nurture, rivals to observe, opportunities to seize. Each action would be calculated. Each word measured. The past me had rushed blindly, this me would move like a shadow, unseen but inevitable. I picked up my old journal, flipping to blank pages. "Everything starts now," I whispered. Names, plans, subtle manipulations, all written carefully. I had to start small, build trust, gather influence. One mistake, and I'd ruin my future, again. Even in solitude, I practiced the tone of my voice, the words I'd drop casually, the laughter I'd sprinkle in to earn trust. "You can't make the same mistakes twice," I said aloud, voice firm. That evening, neighbors came by. "Hey, are you joining the game later?" one asked. I nodded, smiling innocently. Wouldn't miss it. Inside, I calculated, memorized interactions, observing personalities, remembering secrets I had learned years ago. Subtle nudges here, a comment there. Tests. Experiments. And then, finally, I saw it, the first sign of control. A classmate argued, and with a carefully timed comment, I shifted the balance in my favor without anyone suspecting. Satisfaction warmed me. Yes, I breathed, letting the smallest smile slip. It begins. As night fell, I lay in bed, replaying the day. I was younger, yes, but my mind carried the scars, the pain, the knowledge. I wasn't just me, I was the me who had survived betrayal, who had learned, who had a plan. I whispered into the dark, tomorrow, we move further. One step at a time. The shadows in my room flickered with the dim light, and for the first time in years, hope mixed with determination. 10 years younger, yes, but this time, I was ready. I stepped into the library, my backpack light but my mind heavy with calculations. "You're early," a voice said. I looked up to see an older man, his eyes sharp, almost piercing. "I like to observe before I speak," I replied, keeping my tone casual. He raised an eyebrow. "Observation is good. Too many rush in without seeing the patterns." I nodded slowly, hiding the surge of excitement inside me. Patterns, I knew them all. Especially his. The betrayer. Even back then, I could see the way he manipulated small things, always testing boundaries. "And patterns," I said, lowering my voice, "can be corrected." The man smiled faintly, as if he understood more than I let on. "Careful with corrections," he warned. "Even small changes ripple far." "I've learned that already," I muttered. My heart thumped in anticipation. This man, mentor, I decided in my mind, would be useful, whether he realized it or not. I wandered between shelves, overhearing students. "Did you hear what he said about the project?" a girl whispered to her friend. "I think he's trying to get ahead unfairly." I smirked. Unfair? Maybe. But predictable. I leaned slightly closer. "If you just double-check the calculations here, you'll be safe from mistakes." Her eyes widened. "Really? You think that will work? Try it. See for yourself," I said, letting my voice trail, casual, unassuming. Inside, I clenched my teeth. Small influence, the first test of control. I spotted him across the room, the betrayer, laughing, surrounded by peers. He hadn't noticed me yet, not that he would. Not today. He repeated the same gestures, the same arrogance I remembered from the future. I whispered under my breath, "Same mistakes, same pride." One of his friends tripped, nearly spilling papers. "Watch it," he snapped, tone sharp. I stepped closer. "Or maybe apologize," I suggested quietly. "Even a small gesture could change how people perceive you." He looked at me with annoyance. "I don't need lessons from you." I smiled faintly. Lesson or advice, it doesn't matter. People notice everything. Inside, satisfaction bloomed. Influence, subtle, almost invisible. Later, I lingered near the science lab. "I need to check something," I muttered to myself. I had researched equipment in my head for weeks, knowing what would be useful. As I tinkered, another student approached. "Can I see that?" I handed it over carefully. "Just observe. Don't touch the main setup. You'll learn more that way." They nodded, trust in their eyes. Trust one planted, carefully measured. The mentor appeared again, leaning against the doorway. "You have patience," he said. "And foresight. Most don't. Don't waste it." "I won't," I said softly. He gave a knowing look and left, disappearing as mysteriously as he arrived. My pulse raced. His words confirmed what I already believed: I could shape things if I stayed unseen, careful. By afternoon, I had started placing small bets on local competitions, investing in things I remembered from the future. Nothing huge, just enough to accumulate advantage over time. Every transaction, every interaction, felt like a test of my skill, my patience. "Hey, do you think that's a good idea?" a classmate asked nervously, watching me. I shrugged. "Sometimes the risk is worth the knowledge you gain. Watch, and you'll see." They frowned but stepped aside. Observation was key, I had learned that. Influence didn't need force, only timing and precision. The betrayer wandered close, laughing with another student, unaware that I remembered every flaw they would repeat. I caught snippets of their conversation. "I think I can win without trying too hard," he said smugly. I frowned. "Confidence, arrogance, same as before," I muttered. A plan began forming, step by step. Small manipulations, carefully timed, could tilt everything in my favor without alerting anyone. During lunch, I overheard gossip about a minor theft in the dorms. "Can you believe it?" a boy whispered. "Who would do such a thing?" I leaned in just enough. "If you watch carefully, the person always slips up. You just need to notice the signs." My tone was casual, but my mind raced with possibilities. Early betrayals, small tests, everything mattered. By evening, I practiced the first subtle manipulations on people I barely knew. A favor here, a suggestion there. "I don't know why I did it," a girl said later, smiling at me, "but it just felt right." Exactly. The first taste of control. Small, almost invisible. But power, I realized, came in increments. I whispered to myself as I packed my bag. Every step counts. Every word matters. The future can be mine if I play this carefully. Later, in the quiet of my room, I reviewed the day. The mentor's words, the minor victories, the observations of the betrayer, I had begun the game. I leaned back on the bed. The plan awakens, now it truly begins. I could feel it, deep inside, a mix of rage, excitement, and fear. One misstep, one miscalculation, and everything would collapse. But for the first time in years, I felt alive, powerful, and ready. 10 years younger, yes, but with all the knowledge of a life I refused to let waste again. I spotted him across the courtyard before he noticed me. The betrayer, same smirk, same arrogance, same blind confidence. "He hasn't changed," I muttered under my breath. A girl beside me nudged my shoulder. "Who?" "Him." I nodded casually. "Yeah. Watch carefully. People always repeat their mistakes." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Patterns," I said softly, letting my gaze follow him. "You'll see." He shoved someone aside to get to the cafeteria line, laughing, unaware of the tiny ripple of annoyance he left behind. My teeth clenched. Arrogance, predictable. "Is he a problem?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "But he will be, if no one notices." My mind raced, calculating, do I intervene or wait? If I act too soon, I risk exposing myself. Too late, and the damage is done. I moved closer to the cafeteria, pretending to search for a book. "Hey, did you hear about the scholarship application?" a boy whispered nearby. I leaned in slightly. "Yes. Be careful with deadlines. Missing one detail could ruin everything." He blinked. "You know that for sure?" "I've been around," I said lightly, tone casual, almost teasing. Inside, satisfaction bloomed. Influence, small but precise, a test for myself. Then I saw him, my betrayer, cornering a classmate. "What's wrong?" I muttered. He laughed, too loud, leaning close to intimidate. I approached without seeming to. "Careful," I said quietly to the girl. "If you react calmly, it will defuse him." She froze, then whispered, "You really think so?" "Yes. Watch me." I stepped just behind him. "Hey, maybe try listening for once," I said, voice calm but carrying authority. He spun, eyes narrowing. "Who said you could?" "Just a suggestion," I interrupted, smiling faintly. The girl's eyes widened, relief washing over her face. I slipped away, heart racing. That was close, but necessary. Later, I walked through the library again, observing students and small betrayals. One boy had taken credit for someone else's notes. "Nice move," I muttered under my breath, "but sloppy." I dropped a casual remark to the real owner of the notes. If you mention the missing pages to the teacher subtly, you'll reclaim credit without confrontation. Really? He asked, uncertain. Try it. Watch carefully. I moved on, pleased. Influence again, subtle, invisible, and effective. By mid-afternoon, tension thickened. My secondary rival, a smart, cunning classmate named Liam, caught my gaze. I hear you've been helping everyone too much, he said, voice laced with challenge. I help only those who listen, I replied, tone calm, eyes steady. Observation matters. Or maybe you're trying to control everything, he said, smirking. Control? Hardly, I said. I just notice what others miss. It can make a difference. I left him with that. His expression flickered, curiosity, suspicion, respect. Perfect. A minor test of patience, and he revealed his tendencies. Meanwhile, the betrayer wandered close to Liam. Their conversation was trivial, but I caught the undertone: competition, ego, dominance. Exactly like I remembered, I muttered, watching the early seeds of arrogance sprout again. A younger student tripped nearby, scattering papers. The betrayer laughed, stepping over them. My fists tightened, but I stayed silent. Karma could wait. For now, observation mattered more than action. Later, I cornered a few students under the pretense of casual advice. Timing matters. Small nudges change outcomes without anyone noticing. One nodded slowly. You're different, they said, hesitant, uncertain. I smiled faintly. Just careful. You'll learn. Subtle recognition, the first signs that people began seeing me differently. My presence carried weight now, quiet but unmistakable. Then the day escalated. The betrayer accused a classmate of stealing a project part. I didn't, the student shouted. Why would I? Perhaps you forgot, the betrayer said smugly, eyes sharp. I intervened carefully. Maybe check the bench over there. Things can be misplaced. My voice was calm, unthreatening, but firm. The student searched, found the missing piece, relief flooding their face. The betrayer froze, confusion flickering in his eyes. Wait, how? I stepped back, hiding my smirk. Sometimes noticing what others overlook helps more than confrontation. By the time I returned home, shadows were long. My mind replayed every detail, the minor betrayals, the patterns repeating, the way my rival tested me, the subtle fear and respect forming in those around me. I whispered to myself, leaning against the wall. Every move counts. Every word matters. Observe, wait, act. The day had been a test, and I had passed quietly, carefully, invisibly. The betrayer repeated his mistakes, the rival tested my patience, and I learned more about the rules of this world than I had in years. Shadows of betrayal surrounded me, but now, I was ready. I sat at my desk, watching the numbers on the screen. The project ledger didn't lie, and neither did I, so, this is where it started, I murmured, tracing transactions with my finger. Need help? A voice asked behind me. I looked up to see Sarah, one of the newer assistants, holding a stack of files. I might, I said, keeping my tone casual. Just, checking for errors. It's tricky, numbers can hide a lot. She nodded, setting the files down. I don't know how you do it. I'd miss half the mistakes. I've had practice, I said lightly, though the weight in my chest told a different story. My hands trembled slightly, excitement, fear, and a touch of guilt all mixed together. Here, look at this transaction. Does anything seem off? Sarah leaned in, pointing. This one. The numbers don't match the report. Exactly, I said, smiling faintly. Now, let's see how it affects the overall project. Small mistakes can hide big consequences. Inside, satisfaction burned. The first subtle step in reclaiming what was stolen. Later, in the hallway, I overheard him, the betrayer, speaking to a colleague. "I don't see why this project matters. We'll win anyway." I muttered under my breath, same arrogance. Same underestimation. Perfect. I approached casually. "Maybe it matters more than you think," I said softly. "A small adjustment now could prevent big trouble later." He frowned. "And you'd know that because—" "Just observation," I replied, shrugging. "Pay attention. That's all." He walked away, scowling, unaware that I had already shifted the trajectory of the project. Subtle influence, the kind that left no fingerprints. I exhaled, the first real taste of control warming me. In the break room, Sarah whispered, "You've been helping everyone without anyone noticing. How do you do it?" "Patience," I said lightly. "Notice what people miss. Timing is everything." "Sounds strategic," she said, eyes wide. "Do you ever worry it could backfire?" "Always," I admitted. "But sometimes the risk is worth the reward." By mid-afternoon, I was tracking small victories. Minor allies, students, colleagues, neighbors, acted without knowing they were paving my path. Each conversation, each suggestion, each small correction reinforced my influence. I whispered to myself, step by step. One move at a time. Then came a key moment. One of his subordinates approached me nervously. "I think he's sabotaging the numbers," they said quietly. I leaned in. "Are you sure?" "Yes, every report seems off after he reviews them." I thought fast. "Then quietly document everything. Keep it in your notes. Don't confront him. We'll fix it, without anyone noticing." Their eyes widened. "You mean, get it back?" "Exactly," I said, calm but firm. "Do it carefully." Later, I confronted a minor issue directly. The betrayer had taken credit for an idea that wasn't his. I approached the original contributor. "You deserve recognition," I said. "Here's how to present it so that everyone sees your work." They blinked. "You'd really do that?" "Of course. Just follow my lead," I said, voice steady. "It's all in the timing." The betrayer noticed and scowled. "Why are you helping them?" I shrugged. "Why wouldn't I?" My tone innocently casual, hiding the intent beneath. Inside, I felt a flicker of triumph, the first visible sign of him losing ground. In the afternoon meeting, he tried to assert control, but I subtly redirected discussions, asking questions that highlighted weaknesses he hadn't anticipated. Colleagues nodded at me, unconsciously respecting my insight. "Are you trying to undermine me?" he hissed during a break. "Not at all," I said, smiling lightly. "I just notice things others miss. Maybe you should try it sometime." He didn't respond. His face tightened, irritation and confusion mixing together. I could almost feel the first cracks forming. After the meeting, a colleague whispered to me, "You always know what to say. I don't know how you do it, but people notice." I smiled faintly. "It's nothing. Just observation." Inside, pride stirred. Subtle power, quietly reclaiming what was mine. Walking home, I thought of every small maneuver from the day, the numbers corrected, ideas returned, influence growing. Guilt whispered occasionally, manipulation never felt entirely clean. Yet the thrill of seeing him falter, even slightly, overrode it. "I can do this," I whispered under my breath. "Step by step, everything will be mine again." Even the minor victories mattered. Sarah's trust, the colleagues' subtle shifts, the unnoticed corrections, they all reinforced the path forward. Each move, carefully calculated, brought me closer to reclaiming what he had taken. By night, I reviewed the day quietly in my room. The ledger, the notes, the conversations, I recorded them all mentally. The betrayer was beginning to slip. I could see it, feel it, and it was intoxicating. I whispered into the darkness, feeling the weight of control settle in my chest. The first strike is done. And now, we move faster. I watched him from across the room, casual in his arrogance, unaware that I had already anticipated every move he would make today. My hands curled around the edge of my desk. Do I destroy him completely, or let him unravel slowly? I whispered to myself, tension coiling in my chest. You look tense, a voice said softly beside me. I turned to see Elena, one of the few people I trusted enough to let near my thoughts. Her eyes searched mine. I'm fine, I said quickly, forcing a smile. Just thinking. About him, isn't it? She asked, tilting her head. I can tell. I bit my lip. Maybe. But it's complicated. She stepped closer. Complicated how? You've changed since he first crossed your path, haven't you? You're sharper now. Smarter. But are you happier? I hesitated. Her question struck a chord. I don't know, I admitted. I have control now, yes. But at what cost? You could let go, she said softly. Forgive, maybe. Or at least, not let it consume you entirely. Forgive? I whispered, voice trembling with restrained anger. After everything? I can't just let it slide, Elena. I can't. Her eyes softened. You can survive without him ruining your life, though. That's the point, isn't it? You don't have to stoop to his level to win. I shook my head slightly, running a hand through my hair. Winning isn't enough. Not anymore. I need him to see the consequences, to feel the impact of his choices. She frowned. And if that destroys him completely? Can you live with that? The question lingered, heavy and persistent. I didn't answer, only nodded toward him across the hall. He was talking to a colleague, smirking as if the world owed him something. I muttered under my breath, soon, you'll understand. Just wait. Later, I approached a minor ally who had unwittingly stumbled into my orbit. Keep track of his movements today, I said quietly. Every meeting, every conversation. Subtle notes, nothing obvious. The ally blinked. Why me? Because you notice what others ignore, I said, letting my voice be casual, almost playful. And you can keep secrets. They nodded, trust in their eyes. I smiled faintly. Good. Keep me informed. As the day unfolded, I observed him making small mistakes, misplaced files, overlooked emails, minor irritations. The betrayer, so confident yesterday, was starting to falter subtly. My pulse quickened. Patience, I whispered. Don't rush. Let the trap work naturally. Elena found me again during a break. You're smiling, she said, teasing. Doesn't it feel strange to enjoy this control? I wouldn't call it enjoyment, I said carefully. It's satisfaction. Proof that the world isn't random. Actions have consequences. She frowned. And does that make you feel better, or worse? I hesitated. A little of both, I admitted. Power is intoxicating, but isolation, lonely. She touched my arm lightly. You don't have to be alone in this. You can let someone in. I stared at her, emotions I hadn't allowed myself for years stirring. I can't risk it, I whispered. Not yet. There's too much at stake. The afternoon brought the first visible sign of his vulnerability. He entered a meeting, confident, and found the data I had quietly corrected subtly exposing his errors. His smirk faltered. This can't be right, he muttered, scanning reports. I approached casually. Numbers don't lie. Care to review them again? My voice was calm, almost innocuous. He glared, confusion flickering in his eyes. I I don't understand. How? Maybe you overlooked something, I said lightly, shrugging. It happens to the best of us. Inside, I felt a rush of triumph, but also a pang of something I hadn't felt in years, guilt. Watching him stumble, even subtly, felt too easy. Later, Elena appeared beside me again. He looks vulnerable, she said softly. Doesn't that change anything for you? It should, I said quietly, voice tight. But I can't stop now. Not until I know the lesson is learned. Her eyes searched mine, lingering. Just, don't lose yourself in it. I swallowed hard. I won't. I hope. By evening, the trap was set. Every subtle manipulation, every corrected mistake, every unnoticed adjustment converged. I watched from a distance as he stepped into the first real consequence of his arrogance, an opportunity he thought was secure now slipping quietly out of his grasp. I whispered under my breath, tense but focused. This is just the beginning. One step closer. Yet a flicker of doubt lingered. Could I truly balance vengeance and justice? Could I protect my soul while dismantling his world? The questions pressed against me, but I ignored them. For now, the moment demanded patience. And as he faltered unknowingly into the trap I had laid, my heart beat fast with anticipation, fear, and a strange, unexpected thrill. I watched from the corner of the room, calm as the storm I had set in motion began to unfold. The betrayer's confident smile was already fading, replaced by a twitch of unease. It's almost too easy, I muttered under my breath, fingers tapping lightly on the desk. Almost, a familiar voice asked. I looked up, Elena, curious, cautious. I've been patient, I said softly. But the moment has come. One misstep, everything unravels. She studied me. You're sure you want to do this? There's no turning back. I'm sure, I said, voice steady. He already chose this path. Across the room, a colleague whispered to another, did you see the report? It's all wrong. Wrong? The other replied, eyebrows raised. How? Everything was perfect yesterday. I leaned slightly closer, smiling faintly. Sometimes perfection is just an illusion, I murmured, letting the words hang. The betrayer approached, face tight, scanning the room. I don't understand, he said, voice low. How? Why are these mistakes happening? You didn't notice, I said lightly, shrugging. Even small oversights can snowball. He swallowed hard. But I was careful. I checked everything. Apparently not enough, I replied calmly. The simplicity of the statement made his panic almost tangible. Inside, a small part of me winced. I remembered how it had felt to be powerless, and the empathy clashed with my desire for justice. Later, a minor ally approached me, voice hesitant. People are starting to notice the errors, they're blaming him. I nodded. Good. Let it happen naturally. Don't intervene. Observe only. Their eyes widened. You're really patient. I've learned to wait, I said softly. Patience is a weapon. In the cafeteria, I overheard the betrayer's conversation with a colleague. I don't know what's happening, he said, voice strained. Everyone's against me, even my own team. Maybe it's just perception, I muttered under my breath. Or maybe the consequences finally caught up with you. I caught Elena's glance across the room. She raised an eyebrow. You're enjoying this, she said quietly. Not enjoying, I corrected. Observing. Learning. Ensuring the lesson sticks. A few students whispered nearby, pointing at him, murmuring about mistakes and mismanagement. Each word, each glance, each doubt, subtly reinforced the shift I had engineered. By mid-afternoon, he stumbled during a presentation. Papers slipped from his hands, data charts misaligned. His face burned with embarrassment as murmurs rippled through the room. I approached casually. Need help? I asked, voice soft. He looked up, frustration and panic mixing. No. I can handle this myself. Of course, I said lightly, stepping back. Just remember, even small cracks can grow if ignored. He froze, catching the subtle truth in my tone. For the first time, I saw the panic I had imagined for years reflected in his eyes. Later, Elena joined me during a quiet moment. He's unraveling faster than I expected, she said. I've guided the tide, I said softly. The storm is his own making. I merely nudged it along. But does it feel good? She asked, concern in her voice. To see him falter like this? I hesitated, recalling the helplessness I had felt before my second chance. Satisfying, I admitted, voice low. But also, strange. I didn't expect it to feel so hollow. I can't let it consume me entirely. A colleague whispered nearby, he looks broken. I've never seen him like this. Yes, I said softly, almost to myself. Exactly. He's learning, slowly. And I remain calm. By evening, the final confrontation for the day arrived. He approached me, voice trembling. Why? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Did I betray you before? Yes, I said simply. You did. And now, you're seeing the results. I beg you, please, explain, he said, desperation creeping in. I don't want this. I can change. I can. I held up a hand, stopping him. It's not about you changing. It's about you understanding. Every choice you made has consequences. That's the lesson you refused to learn years ago. His eyes flickered with guilt, fear, and confusion. I was wrong. I didn't realize. Too late for regret, I said softly. But not too late to witness the path you created for yourself. Learn it now, without me intervening further. He lowered his head, silent, trembling, finally realizing the weight of his arrogance. My allies watched quietly, understanding the shift of power. They saw the calm in me, the control, and began to treat every word I spoke with respect, caution, and admiration. Later, in solitude, Elena asked quietly, doesn't it scare you? How easily someone falls under your influence. I paused. It does, I admitted. Every step I take, I feel the responsibility. But it's necessary. I can't undo the past, but I can shape the present, and the future. The betrayer had faltered today, his pride cracked. Tomorrow, I knew, the tides would continue to turn. And I would remain, steady, composed, unshaken. I whispered under my breath, watching the darkness settle outside my window. The tide has turned. And now, we see who survives it. I watched him slump into the chair, the weight of defeat pressing on his shoulders. His once bright eyes were dim, flickering with guilt and disbelief. I don't understand, he whispered, voice cracking. How did it all go so wrong? I folded my hands calmly on the desk in front of him. You made choices. You betrayed trust, manipulated people, and thought nothing would come of it. And now, I let the pause stretch, letting him feel the full weight. You see the consequences. He shook his head, staring at the floor. I didn't think anyone would notice. I thought I was untouchable. Untouchable? I repeated, voice soft but precise. You forgot one thing. Actions have consequences. You just ignored them until they caught up with you. His hands trembled as he reached for the scattered documents on the desk, reports, letters, reminders of every corner he had cut, every life he had trampled. I never imagined this, my career, my reputation, gone. And yet it is, I said gently, though the words cut like glass. The very things you valued most are now a reflection of your own choices. He finally looked up, eyes red, pleading. Please, tell me what to do. I need a chance to fix this. I shook my head slowly. Fix it? This isn't about fixing. It's about understanding. You had every opportunity to act differently, to choose integrity. You didn't. And now, you must live with that truth. A long silence stretched between us. Outside, the faint hum of the city reminded me how small his world had become. He glanced at a photo on the desk, a letter I had sent long ago, the one he never read, the one he threw aside in arrogance. He stared at it like it carried some forgotten weight. I remember this, he whispered. I ignored it. His voice broke. I was blind. You weren't blind, I said softly. You were selfish. You refused to see what mattered until it was too late. He leaned back, burying his face in his hands. I lost everything. Friends, respect, even myself. How do I move forward? I kept my voice steady, even as memories of betrayal surged inside me. Moving forward begins with acceptance. Acknowledge your mistakes, feel the consequences, and learn. That's all anyone can do. I don't deserve this mercy, he said, voice hollow. Merely observing karma, I said quietly. No mercy required. Life teaches lessons. I just ensured you paid attention. He looked up again, eyes brimming with tears. You planned all this? Every step, I admitted calmly. Every correction, every small nudge, all to show you what your choices cost. Not vengeance for its own sake, but clarity. A faint smile flickered across his face, a mix of shame and recognition. I see it now, everything I ignored. Everyone I hurt. I understand. Yes, I said softly. And now you must carry that understanding. He slumped further, exhausted. I never thought I'd end up like this. Humiliated, broken, alone. I leaned back in my chair, observing him without malice. Alone? Perhaps. But not without lessons. Not without growth. You wanted to know the cost of betrayal. You have it. Outside the window, the sunlight hit a small object on the sill, a keychain I had kept from the time before the betrayal. I picked it up, feeling the weight of memory and time. Even the smallest things, I murmured to myself, hold meaning. They remind us of what we were, what we became. He followed my gaze. What does that mean? It means, I said, placing the keychain down deliberately, that every moment matters. The past, the choices, the actions, they define the present. And they shape the future. I see, he whispered, voice trembling. I understand now. I deserve this pain. His words faltered. Don't speak of deserving, I said softly. Just learn. That is enough. I stood, taking a slow step toward the door. You may leave when you're ready. But remember, every choice you make from now on carries weight. Do not forget the lessons of today. He nodded slowly, barely lifting his head. I won't. I swear I won't forget. As he left, I felt the familiar rush of control, but it was tempered by something deeper, acknowledgement of the cost, recognition that revenge, even just, leaves echoes inside the one who executes it. Elena appeared beside me silently. He's gone, she said softly. Yes, I said, breathing deeply. And now, we reflect. We remember. We grow. She nodded, eyes soft. You changed too. Not just him. I had to, I admitted quietly. Not just for revenge, but to survive, to become stronger. To ensure I never let betrayal define me again. We stood in silence, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Shadows lengthened across the room, mirroring the journey of the past years, the pain, the lessons, the triumphs and the regrets. I whispered under my breath, voice low but resolute, I am not who I was. I survived. I learned. I became more. And in that quiet, bittersweet moment, I allowed myself to feel something I had not felt in a long time, closure. I walked into the office, sunlight spilling across the polished floors, and felt a calm I hadn't experienced in years. Every step was deliberate, measured, as though I was reclaiming not just space, but control, dignity, and peace. Good morning, Elena greeted me with a smile that was warm, real, and steady. Good morning, I replied, letting the words carry the weight of my confidence. How's everything holding up today? All clear, she said, glancing at her notes. The team's settled. No surprises. I nodded. Good. That's how it should be. Inside, I felt a quiet satisfaction, small victories consolidated, the betrayer's influence reduced to nothing more than whispers of the past. Later, I met with a junior colleague who had been quietly loyal through the chaos. I wanted to thank you, I said sincerely. For staying true, even when it wasn't easy. You didn't need me, they said, shrugging. But, seeing how you handled everything, it inspired me. I smiled faintly. That means more than you know. Loyalty and integrity, those are the things that carry us through life, even when others falter. A knock on the door announced a familiar, tentative voice. I hope I'm not intruding, the betrayer said. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by his failures, yet present. Come in, I said evenly, gesturing to a chair. He hesitated before sitting, hands folded nervously. I can't thank you enough for showing me. I understand now, what I lost. How I acted. Everything. You understand, I said quietly, keeping my voice calm. And that's the first step. Recognition of your mistakes is the beginning of learning. I never realized the damage I caused, he admitted, voice trembling. To you, to others, to myself. I know, I replied softly. And while I can't undo what happened, I can choose how I let it affect me. You're facing your consequences, I've faced mine and moved beyond them. He nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I wish I could say I deserve forgiveness. Deserve it? I repeated. Perhaps not. But I won't dwell in hatred. That was never my goal. My goal was balance. Justice. Clarity. And now, it's complete. A small silence settled between us. Outside, the world continued, indifferent yet patient, letting life unfold as it always did. Later that afternoon, Elena and I walked through the quiet office corridors. You look different, she said. Stronger. Calmer. At peace. I've finally reclaimed what was taken, I said softly. Not just my position, not just my career, but myself. Every choice, every action, led here. I feel whole again. She smiled, a hint of pride in her eyes. You've earned it. And you've done it without losing yourself completely. That's remarkable. Remarkable? I whispered, almost laughing. Maybe. Or maybe it's just necessary. I had no other path. I either took control or let everything slip forever. She shook her head gently. You took control, yes, but with wisdom. That's what makes it different from vengeance. That's what makes it lasting. I looked out the window, sunlight reflecting on the glass, catching small motes of dust floating lazily in the air. It's strange, I murmured. To have power, to have influence. It's intoxicating, yet fragile. I've learned to wield it carefully, not recklessly. To protect myself, but not crush others unnecessarily. You've changed, she said, voice soft. But you haven't lost your heart. That's what matters most. I nodded, thinking of the betrayals, the late nights, the strategies, the careful manipulations, and the emotional toll. Yes. I've changed. I'm not the same naive, trusting person who let themselves get hurt. I'm sharper, wiser, and prepared. But I'm still me. And I intend to stay that way. Later, I returned to my office and found a small package on my desk. Inside was a photograph, a memory of simpler times, a symbol of who I once was. I traced my fingers over it, a bittersweet smile tugging at my lips. It reminds me, I whispered aloud, of why I survived. Of why I had to endure. To reach this moment. The phone rang, interrupting my reflection. It was a colleague confirming that the remaining tasks were handled efficiently, without any disruptions. I smiled faintly. Good work. Keep it up. Then I sat back, closing my eyes for a moment, letting the day's victories and the quiet resolution sink in. I am stronger. I am whole. I am free from the chains of the past. Elena appeared once more, quietly sitting across from me. So, what now? She asked. I opened my eyes, meeting hers. Now, we move forward. With clarity, with purpose. I've reclaimed my life, my choices, and my peace. I can build, love, and live without fear of betrayal dictating my steps. She smiled, softly. And you will. You deserve it. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a calm that had been foreign for years. Deserve it? Perhaps. Or maybe I earned it. Every tear, every strategy, every sleepless night, led to this moment. And I wouldn't trade it. Not anymore. A gentle breeze drifted through the open window, carrying the sense of the city and the faint echoes of memories past. I inhaled deeply. Life reclaimed, I whispered, voice steady and resolute. And I am ready for what comes next. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, I allowed myself a final, quiet thought. Revenge had been necessary, justice had been served, but the true victory lay in my transformation. I was stronger, wiser, and unbroken. The betrayer faced their karma, and I was reborn. And in that stillness, I knew one thing with absolute clarity: I was no longer the person who had been left for dead. I was free. I was whole. And the future was mine to shape.